Hey everyone, it's Neve here and welcome to the ScrapFX Art Journaling channel. Today we're going to be doing two quick art journal pages in a Use It Up journal. So I'm starting off with this page in my Use It Up journal. If you haven't come across a Use It Up journal, it's basically a little journal that I just put all my excess paint into. If I've been doing a project and had too much paint out, I just paint it into this book. Sometimes I paint it in patterns like you can see in the background here. Sometimes I just scrape it onto the page, and depending on how I'm feeling, sometimes the backgrounds you can see really clearly, like on these ones that I'm going to do today. Other times I paint over them, which you'll see in the following journal page that I'm doing. So just to sort of tie the two pages together, I'm stamping the opposite colour. So on the blue side I'm stamping in some yellow archival inks, and on the yellow side I'm stamping in some blues, just to sort of tie them together. And I'm just using some regular mark making stamps in the background. Once I've sort of finished doing that, I had some ideas of what I like to do, and it sort of came from this little bird silhouette. So this is a blossoming bird silhouette from ScrapFX. And I'm using a fine glue pen to glue it down onto the page. The great thing about the silhouettes is obviously depending on which direction you want to have it, you can have it pointing in any direction. So I decided my little birdie needed a little bit of bling. So I'm going in with some rhinestones that I've had in my stash for a long time, gluing it down onto the page, so onto his eye and onto the little flowers in his wings. The next thing I'm doing is using my Freedom Girl stencil, again from ScrapFX, and this is one of my favourite stencils because it's very, very versatile. I'm just using some black gesso and pouncing up and down with my sponge to get my impression on the page. The great thing about this stencil is it actually comes with a mask as well, so you kind of get two for the price of one. And she's very directional with how she's sort of standing, so you can get a sort of play across the page like this. Now on the edge there it had bled out a little bit, so I'm just using my craft knife to scrape away any excess ink or paint away. It's a good way to save it if you've got the pen there that you can go in, or the alternative is to go back in and paint any areas that you want with the colour that you have in the background. So I'm just adding a little bit of yellow around just to sharpen up some of the edges. While I had the yellow out though, I thought that it needed a little bit more of a pop on the right hand side, so I'm actually going in with a paint and a very thin paintbrush and actually painting in some yellow on the flowers in the wing, just to again draw some attention to the beautiful silhouette that's on the other page, and also adding some into the tail as well. So it just gives you that impression that both pages fit together. Even though they're slightly separate, they sort of fit together. With the additional paint I've got left over, again because it's my Use It Up journal, I'm using it up, and you can see how brightening that yellow on the page just ties those two pages together a little bit more. So my big dilemma with this page was I liked what I had, but it was really, really simple for me, and I didn't feel that I'd actually done enough on this page. I knew I wanted to add a quote to it, but it still seemed very empty to me. But I've since come around to it. Sometimes you need to do a page and then go away and leave it for a while and come back to it. So I found this quote on Pinterest, and it was, "The secret to happiness is freedom." And on the following page it's got the follow-up to that, and the secret to freedom is, I can't remember what, I have to work out and see what it is courage. So the secret to freedom is courage. And I kind of liked how both those quotes played together, because the woman on the left hand side looks very courageous to me, and her stance and her pose, and obviously with the birds in the background. So this is my second page of my Use It Up journal. And this again is, you can see I was doing a big painting and had lots of paint left over. So I just paint it into my journal. Usually I will scrape it in, but in this case I'd actually sort of paint it in short little brush strokes. And I decided I wanted to do a redactive painting because I had that black page on the other side. So redactive painting is where you paint out the background to make the background that you have on the inside the focal image. So I'm just using again black gesso and pressing it all around. So this is an example of using a mask instead of a stencil. So I'll end up with some brightly coloured images of the women. This is a modern girl stencil mask set from Scrap FX. So I end up with the highly coloured women in the middle and a black background. And I've had people say to me in the past, oh, you know, why you go to the effort of making that background, why are you covering it all up? But you end up with really cool results like this, so I don't mind it all that much. I stamped on the background with some archival inks in colours that I had on the page. So that was using the chicken wire stamp. You can see that sort of popping through too. The other thing is that while I have painted that out black, you can see the texture of the other paint in the background. So it gives you some dimension to the page, I suppose, and what you're doing. I just add a little bit of extra, because I had leftover paint, back onto that black page again, just to make it really, really opaque. Because it was a little bit patchy. Usually when I'm doing things like this, I'm just using the excess paint on my sponge to wipe it off. So sometimes it can be opaque and sometimes it can be a little bit translucent. So again, for this, I went really, really simple. I just had my women on the other page, and I found this quote about powerful women. So when I go to Pinterest, I kind of think of some keywords, how I want to describe them when I'm looking for the quotes. So I think I typed in powerful women quotes to find this one. And it's they've got that whole purpose-driven warrior princess attitude, possibly. Oh, change the world attitude. Can't remember what it says. Vibe. There you go. I got it completely wrong. I really should have the journal sitting in front of me when I'm doing this. The final thing I'm doing is just with a really sketchy outline going around the outside of the stenciled images to just highlight them and sort of tie the two pages together, add that little pop of white onto the page, and it just really finishes off the page. So here's a close-up of the two finished pages. They were really quick to do. I think both individually, each page took me about 20 minutes to do, less than that probably, and the longest thing honestly was actually finding the quote I wanted to use on the page. So I would highly suggest, if you don't have one, grabbing a Use It Up journal, because they're just really, really handy to have, especially if you're time poor but still want to do something creative. And obviously, you know, having some cool masks and stencils and so on that you can use really helps as well. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we've got lots more videos to help you out, particularly using Scrap FX products, and in the description box below you will find some links to where you can find those products. Until next time, bye for now.